All right, a little Thursday night levity. What do you call a reluctant potato? A hesitator. All right, last one. What do you call a sleepwalking nun? A Roman Catholic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 17th regular meeting of the Boulder City Council. I want to start with a general reminder. It is important for the order of this meeting and the function of government that I, as Mayor Pro Tem, the presiding officer of this meeting, maintain a meeting where all voices are heard, business is handled, no one is intimidated, and there is respect for all points of view. The City Council has adopted rules of decorum so that business is conducted in an orderly manner. If attendees obstruct the business of the meeting, the council will take a recess and clear the chambers. I will be fair and impartial in administering these rules, and I appreciate your understanding and help in creating a welcoming atmosphere for all members of the community. Oh, and thank you. Sorry, I lost my. We are reconvening from our executive session.
Ryan, you're gonna reconvene back to the regular meeting.
Back.
State the time.
Thank you. We are reconvening back to our regular meeting, and the time is now 6:02. The first item on our agenda is our Earth Day declaration presented by Councilmember Marcus.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem.
There is a bit of a housekeeping from the executive session that we need to finish up.
Thank you. Yes, I see that now. So the time is now 6:03 p.m. and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive, am I reading the right part? The participants in the executive session were myself, Mayor Pro Tem Lauren Folkerts, council members, Adam, who participated virtually, Benjamin, Marquise, Shuhard, who participated virtually, Spear, Wallach, the city manager, Nuria Vandermeide, city attorney Teresa Tate, along with staff members Michelle Crane, Kurt Farnhaber, Chris Meschek, Mark Wolf, Joanna Crean, and Joel Wagner. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the Opens Meeting laws, I ask you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, I continue the April 17th regular meeting agenda. And we will start with a declaration presented by Tina for Earth Day.
Thank you. So I'll read this Earth Day declaration, which will be on April 22nd of next week. For more than 5 decades, Earth Day has been a reminder of both the beauty and fragility of our planet and of the power of people to protect it. Since 1970, Earth Day has sparked transformative action, inspiring landmark environmental protections like the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and Endangered Species Act, and fueling grassroots movements, calling communities across the globe to step forward as caretakers of the Earth. Today, as we face the defining challenge of our time, the accelerating climate crisis and the loss of biodiversity, Earth Day carries even deeper meaning. The harm done to our natural world is not inevitable. It is the result of human choices. And it is through human action, courage, and care that we can heal and restore the ecosystems that sustain all life. Boulder has long been a place where this truth is recognized and embraced. From being among the first cities in the nation to fund open space preservation in 1967, to pioneering recycling, adopting the nation's first municipal carbon tax, and consistently pursuing bold climate action, our community has shown what is possible when vision meets commitment. Over the years, Boulder has reduced emissions, expanded renewable energy, protected vital habitats, improved water quality, and cultivated a deep-rooted culture of environmental stewardship. But we know our work is far from finished. In this moment, we recommit to protecting the natural systems that nourish us, to confronting the climate crisis with urgency and resolve, and to restoring the balance between people and planet. Earth Day is not just a date on the calendar. It is a call to reflect, to recommit, and to inspire. It is a reminder that this community together can lead by example, by investing in clean energy, protecting biodiversity, restoring ecosystems, and empowering future generations. We can create a healthier, more equitable, and resilient future for all. Now therefore, be it declared that we, the City Council of the City of Boulder, reaffirm our unwavering commitment to environmental leadership and hereby declare April 22nd as Earth Day. We, in the City of Boulder, we invite all community members to join us, not just today, but every day, in reflecting on our shared responsibility, recommitting to the hard and hopeful work ahead, and letting Earth Day serve not just as a celebration, but as a guiding principle for the work ahead to protect, restore, and nurture a sustainable, equitable, and biodiverse future for all. Thank you, and there are lots of events happening next week if you go to the city website, so I hope you all can enjoy them.
Thank you, Tina. Next on our agenda is open comment. Elisha, will you go over our public participation guidelines so that we can begin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We now will review the updated public participation at City Council meeting guidelines. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversations. This vision supports physical and emotional safety for community members, staff, and council, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. For more information about this vision and the community engagement processes, please visit our website at bouldercolorado.gov/services/productive-atmospheres. And also we welcome you to review these guidelines in the Boulder Revised Code, Council Procedures, Section 16B. The city will enforce the rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code, Section 16B, including participants are required to sign up to speak using the name they are commonly known by, and individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Currently, only audio testimony is permitted online. No attendee shall disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of any council meeting in a manner that obstructs the business of the meeting. This also includes failing to obey any lawfully order of the presiding officer to leave the meeting room or refrain from addressing the council. Only one person at a time at the podium, unless an accommodation like an interpreter is required. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No standing in or otherwise blocking the aisles in violation of the fire code or in any way that obstructs the vision or audio of another audience member. No signs or flags shall be permitted in council chambers except for one sign held by a person measuring no more than 11 by 17 inches, which is held higher than the person's face. No higher than the person's face. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. We ask that you not affix items to the podium or dais or walls or other surfaces of the chamber. Signs, flags, or other items used to communicate must be held by one person when displayed. Obscenity, other epithets based on race, gender, or religion, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the meeting will not be tolerated. And lastly, in-person participants are asked to refrain from expressing support or disagreement verbally or with sounds such as applause or snapping, with the exception of declarations. Traditionally, support is shown through American Sign Language applause or jazz hands. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you, Elisha. I will call the first three names. If you hear your name, if you could join us down here at the front and one by one step up to the podium, that would be wonderful. You'll have 2 minutes to speak and I will cut you off after 2 minutes to ensure fairness to everyone. If the audience interrupts while you are speaking, I will step in to make sure that we can hear you and return lost time to you. First up, we have Leslie Galustrom, then Mary Juliet Bird, and Martha McPherson. You're up first.
Evening, Council. Thank you for this opportunity, Mayor Pro Tem Folkerts. Good job. And as always, I just want to thank you so much for your service and for keeping democracy, I always want to cry, keeping democracy strong and keeping it civil, because I don't need to tell you how important it is that we, from the bottom up, continue to do that. And I honor each of you for doing that week in and week out. So thank you so very much for that. My name is Leslie Glustrom. As you can probably imagine, I'm here to talk about climate change, about Excel. I think you all know that we have an off-ramp from our franchise, like our contract with Excel this year. It happens in 2026, but we have to make the decision this year. And I'm really here, there's no PowerPoint slides now or anything like that, but really here to encourage you to take very seriously, and I'll be back as often as I can be honest, encourage you to let the community have this vote. That's how democracy should work. Let's hear it from the community. Let's have the discussion. Do we want to stay with a monopoly? A monopoly whose profits went up 11% last year, taking $782 million out of our state in after-tax net income. Boulder at a little over 3%. It means that every year over 20 million is leaving our community to support basically Wall Street, instead of keeping that in our community supporting Main Street. So it's very important to think about the rates, and I just want to briefly talk about reliability. We all wish there was a way to avoid wildfires and all the other, frankly, extreme weather, but there isn't. So we have to start thinking about how to build a system that will function in the face of the extreme weather we're going to see. Something I work very hard on, something that we're unlikely to see in any significant way with Excel. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. Next up, we have Mary Juliet Bird. And it doesn't seem like they are in the audience at the moment. I know there was some confusion about the timing for the start of open comments, so if they come before the end, we can come back to them. Martha McPherson, then Susan Hall, and Bryce Billard.
Yes, my name is Martha McPherson, and I'm here again to raise my voice to protect those who need our combined humanity to step up to the madness. The madness being, truth is anti-Semitism, protest is terrorism, dissent is Russian propaganda, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, as George Orwell called it. The Gaza Holocaust is happening right in front of our eyes. No one can say they didn't know. Deliberately killing children in the name of Jewish people incites anti-Semitism. Calling for an end to the killing for the equal rights does not. Opposing Jewish supremacy is not anti-Semitic. We have all been witnessing an orgy of killing, sexual violence, false imprisonment, and torture and mutilation of doctors, healthcare and aid workers, journalists, and civilians. Yet after 18 months of this savagery, you still sit there and defend the policies of Jewish supremacists, Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich, each of whom has publicly called for genocide and ethnic cleansing. At what point will you finally see their resemblance to the Nazis? You accuse those of us who call for an end of the savagery anti-Semite, but we are your mirror, and you refuse to look. Where is your conscience? I bow to Taisha Adams, who has the integrity to stand up to the AIPAC stranglehold. You others, look hard into that mirror, retrieve your inborn humanity for all of our sakes. You have a platform. Use it for our evolution.
Thank you, Martha. Next up, we have Susan Hall. And please, I have to ask you to remain quiet in chambers and no booing or clapping.
I just want to say thank you to Martha first off. And second off, I want to say thank you for Patty Fuster Aguilera, thank you. And of course I have some stuff here. I thought I might mention that $94 billion is what Biden signed. But you guys probably just watch the news, that has the weather on it. So even though Martha said you see all this, maybe you don't see all this. My mom doesn't see all this. She's in Texas. She gets a different type of news. They don't show anything that's coming from Israel there. You have to go find it. You have to care about it. Well, right here it says, this is our president's words. Oh, we already give Israel $4 billion a year. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's what he says to Mr. Netanyahu, or as we call him before he moved to Israel, Melankowski, is that how you say it? I know he changed it so it sounded much better when he was getting all this money. 94 billion last year, 8.8 billion under Trump. So for what the girl said before about having money for our ecological system, it's not there. And what do we get for our money? We get senators that are bought out. Hickenlooper gets $273,000 a year. Oh, from AIPAC. Well, no wonder he votes for all that money to go to Israel. Gabe Evans, the same. And more of what we get for all that money is Israel has more amputee children than any place else in the world. How about this? One little girl caught in her car. Oh, she must be a terrorist. Let's shoot her 355 times.
Thank you, Susan.
Oh, you're welcome.
James, I need to ask you to not stand during the, while people are speaking in the aisles. According to the fire chief, the aisles must be kept clear, so I would appreciate if you could keep your seat. Thank you. Next up, we have Bryce Billard, Macon Cowles, and Alicia Curtin.
On the wall of Auschwitz concentration camp, there's a quote by George Santayana. It reads that those who do not remember history are condemned to repeat it. When I graduated high school and left the conservative town in Colorado Springs, I went on to get my bachelor's in journalism and German world language and culture. Both of my degrees had a heavy emphasis in Holocaust studies. I spent years learning about the genocide because that is my own family history, my grandfather's entire extended family having been murdered in Auschwitz. I learned about the ghettoization, the internment, the torture, the medical experimentation, the endless murder. And I internalized all of that because I truly took the saying never again to heart. It is because of this deep internalization that when I finally educated myself on the horrors that have been unfolding in Palestine for the better part of a century, I was shocked because the similarities were blinding and how obvious they were. Again, I've read of ghettoization and internment and torture and medical experimentation and endless murder. It is a dangerous thing to be painting people who are standing up against genocide of the Palestinian people as anti-Semitic. And I say that as somebody whose entire family has experienced the fallback of a genocide. Stop this. You paint yourself as a progressive city. And it's why I moved to Northern Colorado, specifically to Boulder, because I wanted to leave behind the bigots in Colorado Springs. But what I have found here is that the only difference between them and you is you pretend not to be. I yield my time.
Thank you, Bryce. Next up, we have Macon, then Alicia, and then Jan. I do, just because I am trying to counter any disparagement that gets said, I would like to say that I have met many very nice people in Colorado Springs, and I really think that it is not, we don't want to disparage an entire group of people. Thank you. Macon, thank you.
My name is Macon Coles. I live at 17th and Mapleton, and I'm here tonight to ask the city of Boulder to collaborate with Boulder County to turn the county's Broadway campus into a bold new example of social housing. The county's 17.5-acre campus at Broadway and Iris is a 15-minute neighborhood location across from Foothills Elementary, near parks, services, grocery stores, and transit. It should not be sold into private hands as the county now intends. Instead, the city and county should partner to create several hundred homes, not only for low income, but also for teachers, nurses, and frontline workers who earn too much to qualify for subsidized housing, but too little to live in Boulder. A mixed income community is the very definition of social housing. Let's follow the lead of Montgomery County, Maryland, which includes Gaithersburg, the other city with a big National Institute of Standards campus on it. Their Housing Opportunities Commission uses public land and low-cost public financing to create mixed income housing that serves people across a range of incomes. And because the public retains ownership, these homes remain affordable not just for 15 or 25 years, but permanently. It's a model that has brought stability and inclusion to one of the most expensive regions in the country. The mixed income character of social housing prevents the stigma often heard in conversations about affordable housing here. We can do this. Some have raised concerns about losing the baseball fields, but those fields can be relocated and improved and expanded along with tennis and pickleball courts on the city parkland in the planning reserve near Violet and US 36. This is a once in a generation opportunity. Don't let the county sell this land into private hands. We can do this.
Thank you, Macon. Alicia, Curtin, Jan, Burton, and then Jim Morris.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. My name is Alicia Curtin.
Yeah, you'll have to lean like right in the yeah.
Is this better? Is this better? I am Alicia Curtin. For nearly 4 years, I have lived on Grant Place with my 4 children and 2 dogs. We've relocated from upstate New York to our dream location, and we are very happy here. I bought and renovated a lovely home with our savings, only to have an investor purchase the lovely 4-bedroom home next door and turn it into a 9-bedroom rental. This added density on my one-way street has me concerned regarding evacuation when an emergency reaches our community. I sit on the University Hill Neighborhood Association Executive Board. I am a member of the Flagstaff Fire Action Prevention Committee, and I trained this past winter as a fire-adapted Colorado neighborhood ambassador for University Hill. I also invited you all to my presentation at the library informing the neighborhoods about my neighbors about strategies they could take to harden their homes as part of my FACO training. I'm here tonight because of my concerns regarding the management of the Flagstaff corridor and the significant threat of wildfire to the Boulder community as a whole. First, I urge you to coordinate with the 3 other entities that manage the corridor in an effort to responsibly manage this area and the WUI. There have already been 7 human ignition fires on Flagstaff this year. The illegal behavior that persists on Flagstaff and Panorama Point continues to put not only the Willowbrook and the University Hill neighborhoods at risk, but the greater Boulder community as a whole as well. Fire Chief Lowry has stated that should a wildfire come over Flagstaff, it will become an urban fire and they will focus on life-saving measures. They do not intend to save the city. With the density on the hill, I have grave concerns about evacuation during an emergency situation.
Thank you, Alicia, your time is up. Next up, we have Jan Burton, Jim Morris, and Evan Rabbits.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Jan Burton, I live on the Hill, and Alicia is my fire advocate for my neighborhood. And she's the one who began to get me interested in the subject that I'm going to talk about, a local issue tonight, which is fire hardening and fire prevention. Haven't we seen enough fires now, both locally and in other places, to know that Boulder is really at a significant risk for a fire? We need to have a sense of urgency as a community. I had the fire department inspection person, Steve Orr, come out and do an inspection on my home. It was very, very valuable. And I took his lessons to heart and will be beginning to rip out junipers, my beloved loose spruce. And I'm gonna take his recommendations and do them all. And I don't do that only to protect myself, but to protect my neighbors. And I feel like that's the attitude that we should have in this community to really protect ourselves. But where the staff can only do 435 homes a year, that's not gonna get us to where we need to be when we have 49,000 housing units. So we need to have neighborhood efforts, train the trainer programs, and legislation. I've reviewed the WUI legislation, and I think it's a great step, but it's only for new building. And I think we have to step up as a community and say we're willing to put standards also on existing properties, or we'll never get there. Steve Orr has said that 80 to 90% of the fires are started by embers, and that there are certain things that can be done to really protect the community. We'll do things. So there's simple things like get rid of junipers, the gasoline plant, put screens on the vents, get rid of mulch. Those are the kind of things that every property owner could do. Thank you.
Thank you, JM. Next up, we have Jim Morris, Evan Ravitz, and Frida Silva.
Hi, I'm Jim Morris.
And Jim, could I get you to lean into the microphone a little more?
Is that better? Okay. I think we should not give weapons to countries that are having civil war. I think that would be like Sudan, Chad, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I think I might get confused here, but there's supposedly 1 million refugees, displaced people in one of those two countries and 15 million in the other. I think the Congo was 1 million and Chad was, and Sudan was 15 million. I also think we need climate action, not war. I mean, war is really bad for the climate. You produce a lot of greenhouse gases with a jet or a tank, or you could also do that starting fires. That phosphorus bombs are being used in Palestine, and they're made by a company that's one of our largest employers in Boulder. So I was sort of amazed to find out that the 7th largest weapons company in the world has a major Boulder presence. It's BAE. They make phosphorus bombs, drones, subs, missile launching kits, ammunition, jets. It goes on. And those are being used, well, not all of those, but they have 2 ammunition plants in the US. And they make the howitzer bombs and the phosphorus bombs. And we're trying to create a city that maybe wants to not have the whole planet burn up. But by promoting war, our tax money is $12,000 per household in 2024 for the military budget. It's $40,000 per household from 2002 through 2023. And it's a scam, sort of. The war profiteers, I made this shirt a long time ago, and it showed, oh, I'm out.
Quiet, please, in the audience. Thank you, Jim. Evan Ravitz, you're up next. Frida Silva, and then Michelle Rodriguez. Evan Ravitz does not appear to be here at the moment. Frida Silva. And I also, oh, okay.
Alrighty, my name is Frida. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a community member, I'm a friend, and I'm talking, I guess Taisha's not here, I don't know, Matt, Aaron, Lauren, Tina, Ryan, Nicole, Mark, Tara, I'm talking to each of you. You're gonna hear the obliteration and the total destruction of a people. I'm gonna share with you sounds of Gaza, and you will hear heavy airstrikes in the northern and eastern region of Gaza right now. And you will hear now the aftermath of what usually happens after airstrikes hit. Excuse me.
destruction and the obliteration of a people funded by the taxpayers of this city and this country.
Please quiet in the audience. Thank you, Frida. Michelle Rodriguez, Rod Snoke, and then Elliot Fladden are next on our list.
Good evening, council members. I'm here today to bring a deeply troubling update and ask some urgent questions on behalf of our community and the family of Soraya Hardy. Just last week, an honorable local judge ruled in the preliminary hearing for the tragic homicide and human trafficking case involving the murder of Soraya Hardy. The court found sufficient evidence to support that the crime included the completed act of trafficking for sexual servitude. As a result, the accused murderer is now being held on a $10 million bond. However, 2 alleged accomplices remain free. One of them, Soraya's boyfriend, confessed to selling her for drugs. The other has not only made a confession, but has now been connected by DNA evidence to the case. Yet neither of these individuals has been charged with trafficking. In fact, one of them was seen this morning attending our very own community court and outreach right outside this building, receiving services and shelter that are meant to protect our most vulnerable. Meanwhile, Soraya's family sat in disbelief at the preliminary hearing last week. They're left to wonder, just as many of us are, how we move forward when justice remains incomplete. So I ask the body directly, whose responsibility is it to charge these 2 individuals? Why has it not yet been done? Why are these individuals loose amongst our community after voluntary confessions? Especially when a judge has determined their involvement. Soraya Hardy deserves justice and her family deserves answers. Our community deserves accountability. Please, I need you guys to address this. I need answers to those questions for the family. They need to know how to proceed. They're not being given any answers. There was no media at the court date. There were only stand-in officers. They deserve more. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Next up, we have Rob Smoke, then Elliot Fladden.
Good evening, my name is Rob Smoke. I live in Boulder. I've been living in Boulder most of the time, since '86. And last council meeting, a woman got up to speak and went on quite a bit about her feelings about people using the term Zio-Nazi. So I'm not advocating that people use that term. However, the people who have been speaking out on behalf of murdered Palestinian children get upset about that. And I think there's a pretty sharp contrast between somebody who's saying they feel discomforted by terms that are used, which are really just being used to kind of gain attention, try to raise consciousness a little bit. I mean, it is true that the indiscriminate killing is more akin to something that we'd see in World War II by Nazis. And for people who are denying that Palestinian children are being killed indiscriminately, who are you denying? You're calling me an anti-Semite? You're calling Human Rights Watch, the UN, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders? Are they all anti-Semitic? Are they all people who are just lying to you or fabricating something? It's hard to have your consciousness raised. It's painful. I grew up with a Zionist lineage in my family, a true Zionist lineage. And I think it was probably at the age of 12 or 13 that I kind of came out of it because I was listening to other people. And 2 of my best friends in high school were Israelis who were being protected by their mom from entering the military by being brought to the US. Anyway, thank you for listening to me today. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. Next up, we have Elliot Fladden, and then I'll return to the in-person speakers who weren't here the first time.
Continually repeating a lie does not make it true. At these meetings, I'd like to have my time back. At these meetings, no one bothers to explain what the repeated and cliched use of genocide actually means. Definitionally, genocide isn't just mass killing. Under federal statute, the Genocide Convention includes the killing of civilians, but not just any killing. Not caring about civilian deaths or even deliberately causing them for another reason isn't enough. If the killing is not done with dolus specialis, special intent to destroy a population, it does not qualify as genocide. This is intentionally the hardest part of any genocide case to prove, for if otherwise, then nearly every war would be genocide. That's why under ICJ precedent, the evidence must be fully conclusive and genocidal intent must be the only plausible inference. See paragraph 373 of the 2007 Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Serbia case, and paragraphs 162 and 178 of the 2015 Croatia versus Serbia case. So when someone points to rhetoric that might seem dehumanizing, and that alone doesn't meet the legal bar, especially if the other side is taking documented steps to reduce civilian harm. In that case, genocidal intent is not the only plausible inference, and the charge fails under ICJ precedent. Similarly, food shortages, even tragic ones that may be intentionally caused, don't prove genocide either if there's a reasonable military explanation, like targeting enemy fighters or weapons infrastructure. In that case, the required intent to destroy civilians is not legally present. So in spite of the people laughing in the background and trying to interrupt me, in the future, let's not rely on cliched and racially charged and anti-Semitic slogans. Let's have analysis based on actual legal standards, not incitement dressed up as justice, and certainly not racist and anti-Semitic blood libels. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
Racists.
Please,
Legal standards are
quiet
right there. Look them up.
in the audience.
Look up the law. Stop your racism.
Given that I am committed to countering all disparagement, I would like to say that I recognize and honor those in our community that raise their voices in thoughtful protest. Your commitment to advocacy, justice, and the democratic process reflect the heart of what makes Boulder a thoughtful and engaged community, and no matter which side of this, I don't think, whatever.
No.
You guys interrupt all the time. There's more than one opinion.
Please be quiet in the audience.
Lauren, I'm called a name every week. I'm called a disgusting name every week.
Your racism policy.
Now you're saying something? I'm called a name, disgusting name
I'm
every
going
week.
to need to recess the meeting. This is a disruption.
No problem.
Unless we can become quiet. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mary Juliet Bird or Evan Rabbits, are either of you present? If not, we will be moving on to our virtual speakers. Our virtual speakers are Josh Schlossberg and followed by Aram Bingham, and then Jeff Cahoon.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I guess start the engines now, please. City of Boulder, along with Boulder and Jefferson counties, the counties of Jefferson and Boulder paid for a 2022 study which concluded that forests, quote, thinned prior to the 2020 Calwood fire burned just as intensely or more so as uncut forests and ultimately released more carbon into the atmosphere. The study by climate scientist Brian Booma, PhD from University of Colorado and other scientists found in forest plots previously cut in the name of, quote, wildfire mitigation, a, quote, lack of clear effectiveness of the treatments at increasing surviving live biomass when exposed to a wildfire, unquote. Study authors theorized that partially the high ground fuel loads and decreased tree density led to increased fire intensity as a result of easier wind movement, an unintended consequence seen in the 2010 4 Mile fire as well, unquote. City of Boulder didn't just ignore the findings of the study, it didn't even mention the existence of the study it funded in its roughly 150 references in its 2024 Community Wildfire Protection Plan up on the city website. This joins several hundred peer-reviewed studies by hundreds of scientists that can test the fuel reduction narrative in our forests, studies Boulder also disregards. Why did the city ignore and bury its own study? Was this an error or intentional? On top of previous cutting, Boulder City Open Space and Mountain Parks is planning hundreds of acres of tree removal and forest clearing in 2025 in the name of wildfire mitigation. Money that could instead be spent on actually effective home hardening and defensible space up to 100 feet around homes that other folks have mentioned. This is why we're asking for a moratorium on any further tree cutting in the name of wildfire and open space and mountain parks until the full body science and public opinions incorporated into the decision making, especially when it comes to the city's own studies that it funds for this very purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. Next up, we have R.M. Bingham.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I will begin speaking. I hope you remember me standing before you over a year ago to remind you that Boulder City Council waited for over 3 years and 600,000 dead Iraqis before acting to pass a ceasefire resolution. A year and a half into the war on Gaza, and by public health experts' best estimations, at least 300,000 excess deaths of Palestinians, with starvation, continuing blockade, collective punishment, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whatever you want to call it. This is your halftime warning. You have, through avoidance, condescension, disingenuousness, and outright repression of citizens' rights to express themselves in this public forum, avoided doing a single thing to promote peace and human rights. You have told us you cannot make motions on foreign affairs when you know this is not true. City Council's Rules and Procedures, item 15F, states, Council shall not act on a foreign policy or national policy issue on which no prior official policy has been established by the Council or the people, unless sufficient time and resources can be allocated to assure a full presentation of the issue. You are fully empowered to allocate this time and resources, and despite the many hours of cumulative public testimony over these 18 horrible months, and an abundance of resources in the form of blood money, of city investments in war profiteering corporations, you have told us the lie that you cannot comment. You have also told us patronizingly that we are wasting our breath here and that we should be speaking to our elected officials at a higher state and federal level as though this is something we are not already doing, or as if this is something you should not yourselves be doing already. If you believe that human rights violations committed with our weapons and tax dollars are not preferable to peace, then you should fucking say so. Don't make us wait another 18 months, thousands of more dead children, hundreds of dead journalists, and assassinated paramedics for a council which either suffers less from cowardice or benefits more from bloody hindsight to get our resolution. In my last few moments, I want to say we should never have hired Police Chief Stephen Redfern. How do you expect this to be?
Aram, your time is up. Thank you for your comments. Jeff Cahoon. And then we'll have Joseph Amador and Laura Gonzalez.
Good evening, council members. I appreciate your service and I appreciate your time. I have the unusual situation of appearing before you. Many of you and I think, know each other without a title under me. I'm appearing strictly on my own opinion. But I am noticing something, and I think it's important. It's a civic issue, and it has nothing to do with the travesties that occur around the world, especially in the Middle East and Ukraine. But that being said, we have a fair amount of issues going on with elections at this point. I want to suggest that we take a more comprehensive look, not just, I know I am support the League of Women Voters call for a review of a parliamentary representative type of agreement. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful. But I also note that there are calls for Longmont to do something. Boulder's talking about it. I think, we took big steps in going with a new election system for council and direct election of mayor. Why don't we take a little pause here and very intentionally, with with the involvement of the Boulder County Clerk, that's critical, to take a look at our total election systems and organize a citizens assembly or some other form of group analysis involving not just Boulder, but the other customer of elections, Longmont and the other cities, and take a look at really developing a better solution. And with that, I thank you for your service and I thank you for your patience as council members.
Thank you, Jeff. In the front row, Bryce and Frida, I'm gonna have to ask you to lower your signs down so that they're not above the top of your head, please. Thank you. Next up, we have Joseph Amador, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name properly. And then Laura Gonzalez and Patty Fuster Aguilera.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And good pronunciation, good enough. First, thank you for your dedication and service to Boulder, to the city council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak for a few minutes. It's my 2 minutes of fame. My family tells me I'm very verbose, so I hope I don't bore you too much. Nice to be at a city council meeting. I hope you're able to get to city business and focus on our city. Anyway, I wanted to just provide a point of view on my neighborhood, which is the University Hill, Lower Chautauqua area. Alicia, who spoke earlier, touched on some similar points, not exactly what I wanted to share, but it's nice to just have that voice in your head that you're not crazy. So I'm not actually advocating for a specific policy. I'm not asking for a specific thing. I think I'm just trying to share and ask for a measured and thoughtful approach to how city policies impact this area of our fine city. I actually grew up in a small college town, very similar to Boulder in a lot of ways. Same size, high quality of life, a dominant university, very pro college town. College towns are a huge asset. I think the university is a huge asset. We have little kids, it's a great place to grow up. But I wanted to share that I think our policies at a city level have a differentiated impact on this neighborhood. And I want to make that point without saying do X, do Y. Again, not advocating for a specific policy, but I just think we need to recognize that a policy for Boulder may function or end up being different because of the outsized impact of the university in our specific neighborhood. I also want to acknowledge that I think this is a topic of discussion. I've seen emails from some of the city council members who have noted maybe we need to think about this slightly differently, this neighborhood slightly differently than the rest of Boulder. And I just want to advocate that I agree with that. I think that should be kept in mind in general. And I also just want to acknowledge finally that there are pros and there are cons. I'm not saying there's a lot of negatives or there's a lot of positives. I just think it's different in our neighborhood because of some of the dynamics. And I appreciate it all. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Joseph. Next, we have Laura Gonzalez and Patty Fuster Aguilera.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
And Folkers, thank you for dehumanizing me. You know damn well that my name is Laura, and you did not honor that. I want to start by saying that you guys are a joke. You have a proclamation of Earth Day when literally there's an ecocide happening, not just in Gaza, by the way. There's also an ecocide in the Congo and Sudan. And all of it's connected back to our tax dollars and the decisions that we make, such as you, that you're just not silent, but you're literally making rules to suppress pro-Palestinian voices. Let's not even say pro-Palestinian voices. Humane voices that are fighting against the genocide. To the first speaker that spoke about the Excel contract, yeah, I'm glad that you're fighting for that and against monopoly, but I also encourage you to fight. Why did Mark Wallach leave, by the way? But I also want you to fight for, against genocide, because it's all connected. What's the point of breaking a contract with Excel when we're literally not gonna have 10 or 20 more years because of all the emissions that Israel's pouring out in the atmosphere right now? Also, I think it's such a joke, Folkers, that you're talking about fire access code when there is absolutely no risk for a fire. You know where there's a risk for a fire? In Palestine, in Gaza, with our fucking money and our fucking bombs. And you know what happened last night, Folkers? And I want to know if you can sleep at night. 10 children were burned alive. They were charred. How dare you talk to people and silence them more. I thought you were a humane person, but it doesn't seem like you are. You would rather care about order than justice. Also, let's talk about like the resources and time, like another of my fellow comrades did earlier, right? You do have the resources. Do you know how much your city manager makes? Your city manager makes $310,000. You know what the police makes? That police, what's his name? Sterling Acque. He makes 200 and
Thank you, Laura. Laura, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Next up, we have Patty Fuster Aguilera.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, big disappointment all over the place here. You all are so shameful to just, just such shame for the world. I just came back from receiving like the President's Excellence Award in Inclusivity from the whole University of Colorado. And at the same time, I have to deal with a fucking trial for appealing on my 30-day suspension because my sign was too high. What a shameful, council in this city that you want to be progressive and you're so shameful and kudos to Laura to say that you put order over justice. How do you sleep at night, you all? It's so shameful. I work at CU. There's 12 students already that their visas have been revoked. We have a problem with cutting freedom of speech to people, and you in the local government are doing exactly the same thing. Nuri Rivera, the city manager, makes more than 300K a year. How can you think that somebody like this is gonna care about people? The NAACP chapter are dissolving also because she wanted to hire the chief of police, the murderer Elijah McClain. What a shameful place that we live on, And in the meantime, I have to deal with all these students that are being repressed. We are getting suspended, silencing our voices. We can even come to the city chambers. And if you all know, it is because of the city manager amended this policy that they are able to suspend people at the city chambers. Okay? So this is so shameful. 8 hours.
Thank you, Patty. We have, do we have Mari Juliet Bird or Evan Ravitz in the audience? If not, that concludes our open comment. Nuria or Teresa, do you have anything you would like to add?
Sure, thank you. As always, we appreciate when community comes and shares your opinions. There are a couple things about that require staff follow-up. Michelle, thank you for sharing your insights. I'll be following up with BPD about what you have brought forward, so know that I'll be doing that. I also understand there's some folks that talked today about what we're doing with wildland safety, and I know we're going to be discussing that on May 15th more robustly at second reading. I know there was a caller who spoke today about forestry. I want to say first of all that our OSMP staff, our director, has been speaking with Mr. Schlossberg directly. I also want to say that I know our staff has been looking into our forest ecosystem management plan and our community wildfire protection plan, and I trust in the work they're doing, but they have been reaching out directly there. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you so much, Nuria, for your always dedication and hard work. Teresa?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you as well. With please quiet in the audience. This is open comment is concluded and we need to move on with city business.
We've been ignored.
I'm going to have to call a recess.
We demand an answer. This cannot go on as usual. Business cannot go on as
This is a disruption of our city council meeting and we cannot proceed with business. I am calling a recess to our meeting.
Coward! You guys are shameful! Shameful cowards!
Children.
Cowards! Violent! Absolutely violent!
Walk away.
Sooner or later, you guys will have to face the reality.
How do you sleep at night?
No, they did not let us in. But this one guy in the community came and joined us, and a multitude of people inside were asking questions. Yeah. We went up there for Pedersen's presentation, and a lot of people asked her, how come she gets so much money from APAC? What? Did she answer? No, but she said she, supported Israel. No matter, almost the whole place too, I think, have been, when they came out, they were like, free Palestine. And this one guy said, hey, you want to interview me? Because I'm totally against genocide and the abuses and this, separated program we've had forever for the Palestinians. So it was great.
Okay, next question.
It was just.
I'm sorry.
And she almost. Yeah. And we had. It was so small, I think she was trying to just keep it with, people that might have suffered it. Didn't work.
Yeah, I did some research. Just quickly looking at my, I was surprised. The American Grand Service Committee has share these things if you're studying. Rich people.
I had one of these for the police.
Are you gonna write something for the local paper?
He's running for governor. But in the next year, he's gonna be running for Indiana, right? I'm gonna pass out flyers, maybe in this neighborhood, I'll say, for this mayor.
You get so relaxed. 2 minutes.
I will now reconvene the meeting. The next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions or comments they would like to make related to items on our consent agenda? Matt, I see your hand, and then Taisha, see you next.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, indeed, with regards to the consent agenda, I sent out a hotline on item 3H with regards to our first reading of the WUI code update. And I had a recommendation that was looking to try to pair what would likely be our new 3-tiered WUI map with our curbside assessments so that we have a consistency with knowing if you're in the WUI and you have at least a baseline assessment of whether or not your home is fire-wise on the colored tier that the curbside assessment has, followed by a recommendation if you are colored as a red or an orange.